Kelvin and his group. 17 turnovers, you guys don't gonna be upset about that. And displeased with that, and some of them were careless, but give them credit. They got a really good basketball club, and a lot of respect there. I'm not pleased. Just very disappointed, and like sometimes outcomes are outcomes, and we're all competitive, but I'm very disappointed in our approach, especially in the second half. And I feel like this team's taken a lot of steps and has a better character than we displayed tonight. So that's my frustration. It's what I told the kids in the locker room, and not good enough. So you can talk about 17 turnovers. You can talk about not being able to score coming out the half. You can talk about how that affected the next possession. And so yeah, there's frustration there, disappointment, but it's league play, and we're gonna have to learn from this. I feel like we've taken so many steps forward over the last 6-7 weeks, or 5-6 weeks, whatever it's been. This felt like a little bit of a step backwards, and we gotta regroup and recharge and get ready for the next one.
We know Houston's really good defensively. What do they do on the court actually though that makes it so tough to score or get anything going against?
I think the first thing is how well they defend the ball. I mean, everybody kind of talks about some of their schemes and some of the things they do. How they play ball screens and things of that nature. But I think the first thing they do is, like, the guy that's guarding you guards you. It's really hard to get downhill. It's really hard to beat that guy. And then obviously their activity and their positioning is so sound. And again, 17 turnovers, that's not characteristic of our team. And there's quite a few that you're going to say they were kind of careless. We kind of just gave them the ball. But then you got to give them credit. They get their hands on some balls, and they have a level of activity defensively that really impacts their possessions and impacts your ability to move the ball, execute, and make plays. And then obviously they're just terrific on the board. And I thought we kind of broke the game open, getting to the board a little bit, which is, again, the team that we're trying to be. But they are, over the course of the year, just terrific on the offensive and defensive board.
How good is Walker? There's a ton of NBA people here, and that's 240 pounds. That moves pretty good.
He was pretty good tonight, right? I mean, you wanted to try to make him make some contested shots over the top, and he did that. I mean, you look down, he's 8 for 14, and some of them you kind of felt like, hey, that's the shot that we're going to live with tonight, because you can't take everything away from everybody, and they got a lot of really talented kids. And give him credit, he made a couple of them tonight. We were going to try to live with some of that. We were just going to try to bait him into some more difficult shots that were contested versus some of the easy ones on the board or around the basket, or just the wide open threes. But he shot it really well tonight, made plays.
You talked after the Tulane game that you feel like this team can beat good teams. Did you see pockets of that tonight in the first half? Maybe they're late in the second when you cut it to 10?
Yeah, just too few and far between.
Coach, you have Victor Locken kind of popped up and really started to get going in that second half. What was not working in the first half, and what worked in the second half to unlock him a little bit better?
And this is like out of respect for how good of a player I think Victor is. I mean, he was 8 for 10 from the line, so that has a lot to do with it, right? He got fouled, made his foul shots. But I didn't, and I think he'd tell you the same thing. I didn't think it was his best game. His line's respectable, right? It's a good line, 16 and 6, I should say. But I didn't think it was his best game.
You mentioned the battle on the boards. You guys actually ended up winning that. Dan had a pretty good productive on the offensive glass. Is that something that you could kind of take away, a silver lining type thing in the game, or is it more of an overall picture?
I mean, we're in January and we're in league play. It's past silver linings to me at this point. It's about there's a standard and you play to it. And if you lose, you'll be pissed off. But if you play to that standard, you wake up the next day and do it again. And like, to me, that's where we have to get now. Like, this isn't like a building thing. now. And we didn't do that tonight. Not okay. Not acceptable. We need to be accountable for that. That's it. Like, it's not about silver linings. Like, we have good enough players. We have good enough team character to beat anybody in college basketball on a given night. Not okay to not, like, play and act to the standards that we're capable of.
Mike Adams-Woods has really turned it around here to kick off conference play. He finished with 19 on 8 for 11 from the field tonight. What did you think about his performance and how he was able to affect this game on all 3 levels?
He shot it really well. He's really improved as a player. Yeah, I thought Shuey was pretty good tonight at times, especially offensively. I hadn't really studied he had 3 turnovers. A couple of them were really careless. A couple of them you'd like to get back. But there, he had it going a little bit offensively, and some of them were really important baskets for our team to stay in the game.
You talked about wanting this team to be more consistent, whether it's within a game, like coming out of the second half, or game to game. What do you feel like is the key to sparking and finding that consistency?
It's a good question, Justin. If I had an answer for that, we wouldn't be sitting up here talking about it. If I had the magic solution for that, you can use any cliche you want. The approach that I have and that I believe in is you just keep valuing it, working on it, preaching it, being accountable for it. If I had the magic wand, we'd be up here celebrating right now, talking about how great we played.
Probably another question that's not an easy answer, if there is one, but how do you deal with streakiness? Jeremiah 6 of 9, and Wichita 0 for 7 tonight. Obviously their defense is pretty good. And then David has an off shooting night for the 2nd night in a row, which is uncustomary. And you would think he'll get it back together by Wednesday, but it's tough to beat a Houston, period.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about shot selection and quality of shot than I am about misses and makes. I thought JD had some really good looks that didn't go. I believe in his shot. I think he's proven that over a long period of time now at this level that he can shoot the ball. It's about the quality. He took a bad one, drove it in the lane early in a possession, spun back, shot a fadeaway. I thought it was a bad shot. And he took another 3 that was questionable, but if that's, how many did he take? 9? He was 1 for 9. The other 7 from just sitting up here without watching the tape, I felt like the other 7 were pretty good looks and the right shots for him. So if you take good shots, good shooters will make enough of them over the course of the game. Certainly, it'd be nice if, it's tough when some of your best offensive players all have off nights at the same time, but my focus is always on the things I can control, and I believe in those guys' ability to shoot the basketball. And as long as we continue to take good shots, we're going to have plenty of good shooting nights.
Knowing where Houston is at in the terms of the conference, do you find yourself measuring this team against them, or do you try to not do that?
I mean, I don't know if that's how I think about it. I think when we scrimmaged Purdue this year, played Arizona, played Ohio State, played Houston, played Xavier. These are all teams that are ranked all in the top 25. I haven't looked this week, but some of them in the top 10. And I think certainly you're going to look to those type of games to kind of see, what's the difference between where you are and where those teams are. But I think what we're spending most of our time on is holding ourselves to the standard in that locker room and on that court every day, our own standard. I think that's where most of the time mental energy is spent.
What happened with Landers? Goes 4 for 4 to start from deep and then doesn't get another look. Was it something they were doing with defensive coverages on him, or just didn't get the ball in that kind of situation?
No, I didn't think their coverage changed, and maybe I missed something, but we called a couple things to try to get him shots. Certainly they were more aware of him. I thought we missed him a couple times, in open floor situations. I thought we had him for 3 a couple times, and we called his number a couple times with some actions, and they defended it well. But I didn't think, put him in some baseline runner stuff to get him going. But I don't think it was necessarily any change of coverage. We didn't do as good of a job getting him in the ball in the right spot. I'm sure we're going to look on tape and he'd tell you that he could have done a better job of putting himself in the right spot and making better decisions.
2 more questions.
Kalou gave you some quality minutes tonight.
Was it just a fit against Houston? I know he hasn't played in the last few games.
You know, he's been really good in practice for an extended period of time now. And so going into Temple and really going into Wichita, he's been a guy we've been talking about. Like, it's probably time to give him a shot at it again. Because I was frustrated with him early, not him, but his play, and frustrated with him defensively, and things of that nature. And he hasn't pouted. He's come to work every day, and he started to perform better in those areas in practice, and I think that's where it starts. And, you know, I didn't think Odie played well tonight. Again, I'm not picking on Odie, but I think that Odie would tell you the same thing if you asked him. And so Odie's not playing well, and it made some sense to give him a shot based on what he's been doing in practice. And I thought there were some things there, especially after not playing in a long time in the game. I thought there were some positive things there.
We have one more. Mike, thanks, Coach.